Good afternoon. This is yet another edition of our summary videos which I have created. I have created it for two subjects which I already shared. One was for banking operations, the other one was for the behavioral finance, and this one is for you people HR. Please have a look at this concept which we already discussed when I was in the class, but now it's high time that we have some summary of that at our disposal so that we'll be able to answer questions when it comes to any kind of technical interview when you face. Better understand the concept of this competency mapping. Now, by competency mapping, we mean that we are trying to find out the strengths and weaknesses of a person, and those strengths and weaknesses are with special reference to the job which he or she is going to perform. So anything that is related to the person's ability to do a job, perform a job related skill, a summary of you can say three things: attitude, skill, and behavior. You are trying to talk about what is called as competency. And competency mapping is yet another important strategic tool at the hands of HR people, that they try and find out at every single step that they are going to continue to work as HR professional. They are going to find out the three things along with the fourth one. Three things: attitude, behavior, and attitude. Important, you can say KSAB: knowledge, skill, attitude, and behavior. If you have these all four things covered, you can say you are trying to cover the person's ability to perform a job. In that sense, the relationship has got something to do with a job performance. It has got something to do with ability to innovate things, ability to lead, ability to take risk, ability to decide. All these things are related to what is called as the competency mapping. Of course, emotional intelligence of the person. You are trying to find out whether the person has the emotional ability to handle the tasks, duties, responsibilities if he is asked to perform. That is the reason why competency mapping, therefore, is yet another important tool at the hands of HR manager, who is supposed to perform his tasks in line with, in symphony, in synchronization with task, duties, responsibilities of his team members, of his peers, of his colleagues, of people from other departments, of people at work. In other words, person HR has to look after not only HR, look after everybody in the organization. In that sense, this is an important concept to learn. The name of the concept is competency mapping. Now, where this concept had come from? It has come from one management scientist once upon a time he had to talk about abilities of the person, skills of the person. He was a psychologist. He actually coined the concept. We call it the person's name is David McClelland. He was responsible to bring this concept when he was into the Harvard business or Harvard psychiatrist who actually had to do this task of interviewing people, get right person for right job. They had no other option but to get into the competency mapping, and that is where the competency mapping had come from. Now, why it is so important? Why it is so great to know what is competency mapping? Important is because it is most relevant thing in the world. You want a person, all right, but you want a person for the task. You want a person who should be able to perform. You are not going to just take a person for the sake of giving him salary. You are going to take that person to perform tasks, duties, responsibilities which you want him or her to do. That's what we mean by the competency mapping. Then the skill, knowledge, motive, all these three things had great importance at workplace. And of course, the person must know what he can and what he can't. That is the reason why we call it know yourself. One of those things. KYC are the norms for documentation, but know yourself is most important thing as far as the work is concerned. Here we come to the end of first unit, talks about understanding competency mapping. The second unit talks about competency mapping procedures and steps. What you actually are wanting to do is know the skill, attitude, behavior, and the amount of knowledge the person has. So for that, you are actually indulging in competency mapping. You are clarifying your goals. So when you are wanting that person to actually man that job, you are going to ask him whether the goals which you are going to set him, he is ready for those goals or not. Next thing you want to know, has he got any action plan for that? Is that person focused enough? Next thing is define the performance effectiveness. You are giving the target, all right. The target has to be quantified. The target must be having some kind of duration. Target must be having some kind of stringent norms that the person has to follow. That's what we mean by communicating the expectations. The next thing is data collection. You are going to tabulate and collect data, capture that information which is relevant for that person and the person's job, and find out whether he will be able to do A is equal to B or not. Then analyzing that, comparing it, evaluating it also has this important step in competency mapping. Then you are going to validate the competency model he is into, ascertain and find out whether he is fitting into that model. Fix up the responsibility, fix up his task, fix up his role, fix up his responsibilities. Mapping future jobs. You are also wanting to find out what future job this person will be capable of performing. ये किस किस्म का घोड़ा है? You need to know that at the top, at the very beginning of the person's job. You are asking that person to join. You are going to find out whether the person is going to be a lambi race ka ghoda, is going to be just a person for the sake of task, or is he going to be a person who is going to be performer of the year, performer of the week, performer of the decade, and so on and so forth. And most important, you are going to use this for job analysis, you are going to use this for profiling, you are going to use this for rational decision making. These are the various purposes for which you are going to get into the procedure of competency mapping. Now, what are the categories of competency? Threshold, upper and lower limit, you must know. Differentiating, you must know the person's abilities and different task duties the person will be able to do or not able to do. Substantiate and decide, and then have the clarity about the functionality, whether it is going to be technical or it is going to be supervisory or it is going to be clerical or managerial. Depends. You are going to give those task duties accordingly. Leadership, finding out whether the person has got ability to influence or not, and going to, or otherwise give him the kind of task duties, responsibilities. Managerial, find out whether the person has unique capabilities or not. So that is the competency categories. That's unit number 3. Next is leading, managing competency mapping. How are you going to do this task as a continuous activity? First thing you are going to do is acceptance of competency mapping. You have to make every single team member accept this concept of competency mapping. You have to make him use this as a strategic tool. There are causes for resistance. There are some people who will be saying that this is not going to fetch any results, or this is just going to be technical and this and that. Check. You have to focus and ask them to perform and achieve targets. Recommend actions for finding out wherever resistance is, and those resistance people are to be, properly communicated. Then there is Delphi technique, 360-degree feedback. These are used in performance appraisal. We are making use of it for effective job-related knowledge, skill, attitude, behavior parameters. You are going to make generic competency mapping as one of the effective practice, and one of the most important thing, supervisory generic competency mapping, because there are going to be more supervisory tasks in manufacturing organizations. You need to follow the hierarchies. For that, you have to design the organization chart and accordingly effectively implement strategic tool called competency mapping. And the last important thing, competency mapping and its uses. Where are you going to use it? There are gaps. There are gaps in whatever you are trying to do and whatever is actually being done. Ascertain that gap, ascertain the knowledge, skill, attitude, behavior requirements, prepare necessary interventions and targets. This is what you are going to do for competency assessment. You are going to make use of this competency mapping in every single HR activity, starting with, you can say, it started it with job analysis. It also actually had importance in what is called as the manpower planning element, or you can say human resource planning element. Thereafter, you had the process of recruitment, selection, placement, induction. This is where you are going to use this competency mapping exercise as strategic tool. You are going to get right person for right job at right time for right place and right compensation. Then you are going to use competency mapping for functional combinations. You are going to use competency mapping for succession and career planning. You want to have people for whole of your life of the organization. So you must know who is going to follow. If somebody is going to leave, somebody has to take that position. Career planning, you need to provide career path to people in the organization. Compensation, benefit, this has to be all the time restructured, reviewed, surveyed. People must be happy as far as the payments are concerned. And last but not the least, the continuous activity of training and development. Of course, performance appraisal is also part of it. Employee relations also part of it. Putting all those together, you are going to have tremendous usage of the fundamental concept which we understood in this particular subject, namely competency assessment and competency mapping. Coming to all these concepts, you must be now aware that competency mapping is one of the strategic HR management tool, and understanding competency mapping is one of the key elements. That is the reason this has been kept as one of the subjects to be taught in your syllabus. For HR specialization, this was taught. I chose it. I said that I will be conducting sessions. I conducted it till the lockdown period start, and now we have the summary of the whole concept. I have summarized. I already shared notes. I believe you will be able to prepare any concepts whenever you need to actually implement competency mapping. You are conceptually clear about it. Any doubts, you can talk to me directly. You can send your questions on WhatsApp. Thank you, and God bless you. Stay safe, stay secured at your home. Thank you.